Hey everybody, this is Captain Frugal reporting for duty, giving you my weekly comic book review. So sit back and enjoy.
News about comic books, musical instruments, tech reviews, and video games with your host, Captain Frugal.
Welcome back, comic book fans, and welcome back to the channel. Every week, a flood of comics hits the shelves, and it can be tough to decide what to pick up. But don't worry, that's what I'm here for. We're about to dive in to this week's releases to crown one book the comic of the week. Will it be an epic superhero showdown, a mind-bending indie darling, or maybe a hilarious new series that everyone has been talking about? I've read a stack of them, and I've got some strong opinions. So stick around to the very end to see which comic earned the top spot and why you absolutely need to add it to your collection. Feel free to drop your own picks in the comments below. I'd love to see what you're reading. So, let's get into it. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more comic book reviews every week. Welcome back, comic book fans, to the weekly comic book review, where I give you my thoughts and compare mine to the averages and things on League of Comics Geeks. The first comic book I want to talk about is DC Knockout number 5, has 2,364 ratings, a 3.9 score, and I gave the book a little lower, which is normal for me, 3.7. Yes, this is the final battle for the Heart of Apocalypse, where Superman comes back. Yeah, see. By the way, before I get in that, though, I do want to mention the writer is Scott Snyder and Joshua Williamson. Artist is Wes Craig and Zermanico and Xavier Fernandez. Anyway, Doomsday breaks the cycle, if you will, of violence with him and Superman. And he sort of has a new purpose. So they really did put a new spin on this character. And what he does is he brings Superman back to give him another chance to fight Darkseid. So the story ends with a lead into a new crisis coming in the future, but I don't think they plan on doing that anytime real soon. I think overall, this was okay read. But if you weren't really into the Knockout and reading it, there's no point in this. I think this series took a big swing and it ended with a single instead of a home run on this one. The cover is nothing flashy, just the letters DCKO with some pictures and the image, nothing really great. There is some open order covers that are a lot better. It looks like, though, the views are sort of like mine, a little bit mixed in their feelings. For example, here is a 5-star. Above all, let it be daring and take us to the next level and beyond. That's how we'll win. They put that in quotes. They must have liked that line. Let me say, this event hasn't been what I wanted. I know. It's blasphemy to say this, but I give it a 5-star, yeah. But at the end, and I already know I'm going to like this issue more than others, and that's fine, okay? They mentioned that they thought the ending was a bit predictable. Okay, and I agree with that. 2-star review said, a predictable, what was the point ending, in my opinion. And that's sort of where I landed on. It just seemed way too predictable. Let's find a 3-star here and read a little bit about that. Here's a 3-star. Dread it, run from it, destiny arrives, all the same. And that's for Darkseid as a threat. DC Knockout. It's over, but his threat isn't. And that's the thing, they gave it an end, but a non-ending in a way here. So they weren't really happy with the ending. And overall, that's how I felt about the book as well. It had an ending, but it didn't really stick the ending. It wasn't great. What's your thoughts? I'd love to hear them about this book. The next issue I want to talk about is The Amazing Spider-Man, issue number 23. It has 508 ratings, 3.7 score. Yes, this one's popped up a little bit, though I gave the book a 3.5. So, as usual, a little lower. Writers Joe Kelly, pencilers Ed McGuinness. Now, I do tend to like Ed McGuinness's art for Spider-Man. This is a part 2 of a 9-part series of Death Spiral, which I am not planning on reading. Just for the record, I'm just going to stick with the normals. I'm not going to go getting any side issues. And anyway, this has Spider-Man and Venom team up in it. If you're not familiar, Venom is Mary Jane right now. Yeah, so go figure. and they're out to stop a serial killer symbiote. Now, there is a potential death here. They didn't tell you for sure that the character is dead. It's one of Spider-Man's rogue gallery, so I don't want to give it away. But I find it hard to believe they would kill that villain. He's been around a long time. It's a bit shocking, and I think that's what they went for, that shock and awe kind of thing. Pun intended. So anyway, this is a Death Spiral tie-in. I'm not following the event, but it is good art. And I do like that. I like his art on this. MJ... I'm sorry, I don't like her as a hero. I just don't get it. But I will say some good news. She's not with that loser anymore, opening her up for being with Pete. But you know how Marvel is. Overall, my thoughts is this issue is good, but not great. So, you know, it was okay. And I'm looking at the reviews. I'm seeing lots of really falling into that category with 3s. But for example, this issue was interesting in that it had a lot of good, and also had a lot of that really bothered me. And I felt it was very lazy in some aspects. This is the only the second part of the crossover, and there are already some pretty important dramatic inconsistencies between this issue and the first. Now that I couldn't tell you, I did not read the first issue of the Death Spiral, so I cannot comment on that. Now that was a 3-star. Let's talk about a 5-star. Read a little bit the first paragraph of this review. Wow, okay, we're back with the series. I thought the last couple issues stumbled a bit. Boy, did they ever. They weren't bad or anything, but I didn't think they were living up to the very high standard this series has set. Wait a minute, you thought this series has a high standard? Holy cow, are we in a disagreement here? I think most people don't think this series is off to a high standard. And so then when Death Spiral #1 came out, and I wasn't blown away by it. I was a little worried about this crossover event, and those worries are quelled now. Yes, they gave it 5 stars. Thinks absolutely excellent issue. And, you know, to each their own. Another person here gave it a 1-star. I'm careful, I'm only going to read a little bit of it. So basically, we have Ben Reilly getting off scot-free with the nonsense. Once again, what nonsense did he do? He tried picking up the pace for Peter. Now, the whole him being a bad guy, yeah, he's never really rectified that. The Mary Jane dialogue was poorly written and made purposely to be either misunderstood or just to paint her in a bad light. Okay, I don't see that. Not only that, but we have the fact that Mary Jane and Aunt May canonically know the difference between Peter and Ben, so this bullcrap is nonsensical. So as you see here, they have a whole issue with how the characters are written and things, and that makes a lot of sense. And I'd like to know, what are your 2 cents on this book? I'd love to hear it and see it in the comments below. The next issue I want to talk about is Avengers #36 with 202 ratings, 3.6 score, mostly positive, and mine 3.5. We're pretty consistent. I'm like 1 or 2 points lower, 0.1 or 0.2 lower on every issue so far that I've reviewed. The writer's Jed McKay, artist is Farid Karmali. And once again, I'd like to point out that the standard cover for this issue sucks. It's boring. I get it. We have all these heroes and they want to show them, but it just, the way they're drawn does not show anything heroic. There's some open order covers that are better than this. Definitely a better draw. I'm not a fan of seeing a bunch of characters on a page, but this just didn't do it for me. Anyway, we have this epic quest coming to end. This is what it is. This is an issue that summarizes everything and is setting it up for the next direction of the Avengers going forward. So all the storylines come to a close, and I found it boring. It wasn't that great there. I did not care for the Twilight Court group. I think they're pretty lame. I'd like to know, do you like that group? Decent art, though. And their base of operations is alive, sentient, and going with the Twilight Court, because you find out it's part of them. And so the current team is disbanding in here, and we have the chairperson, Captain Marvel, saying she's hanging it up. It's her time to step down, and that's okay. They do elect somebody else, but they don't tell you who it is to set it up as a surprise. So overall, this is an issue that you can skip if you haven't been reading this, but you should probably maybe get if you absolutely love the Avengers. Like me, I'm an Avengers fan, so it's the only reason I got it. Otherwise, I wouldn't have bothered. Looking at the reviews, there is lots of 3s, 2s, 4s. So this one really is all over the map. So I'm going to start with reading just a little bit of a 4-star review. Following the epic battle with Kane last issue, Carol feels that this iteration of the Avengers has done everything they set out to do, and it's time to disband them. Solid enough premise for a final issue on a team such as the Avengers. But I do like the meta element of it. They're done. They've done everything McKay set out to do. Yeah, because I believe he's going to be off the book, but I didn't care for McKay's run. In general, overall, I thought it was very underwhelming. Let's look at a 3-star review. This felt much more like an epilogue than an ending, and honestly, that's what it really was. This whole run on Avengers has felt like an afterthought. It feels like Marvel has never really cared about this book. When it started, it had the ambitious scope that there was promise of the multiverse changing and revelations, which I guess we got. I'm honestly unclear at this point. And that's the thing. I thought it was just overwhelming. It seems like currently in Avengers and books like this, they have to keep, every writing team has to one up the next one by making the stakes higher, and I just don't see it. I think it lacked characterization. Well, that's one of the things that makes Avengers good. Yeah, big stakes, sure, but the characterization, it was very underwhelming. That's how I felt with this book. Underwhelmed. What are your thoughts? I'd like to know. Now, don't forget to stick to the last one, because the last one we're going to give my top book of the week. And I tell you, there was some good ones. So it's been a mixed bag this week. But this time, I'm going to talk about one that's outside the Marvel and DC realm. Yeah, we got to do that, right? And that's Casey Jones, number 5. 81 ratings, 4.2 score on League of Comics Geeks. And, well, I gave it a solid 4. So once again, 2 points below. I've been 2 or 1 below on everything here. Writer is Alex Pecadell. Artist is Amansi Nifimhom and Enid Bellum. I butchered those. Anyway, right off the start, I like the cover, the standard cover of this book. Look, Casey looks like he's in trouble. So I think that was a good way to make you go, ooh, that's cool. I want to check this out. If you've been reading that character, it's attacking him. It's got a lot of, this actually character sort of steals the show in a way. This character has a lot of depth to him. So anyway, Casey is ambushed in this issue by the Purple Dragons. Yep. And he then has to, what he gets is he gets captured, and they're going to use him to hunt him down. And so that's what we get here. Great cover. This Nostrum drug here has Casey seeing his mom at one point, which she isn't there. She's passed away, and it's causing him to get enraged too. And he realizes this and goes to the Turtles to get help there. Good art, good story. This has been a good series. The only thing that really saddens me here is this is ending at issue 6. I think this proves that I think Casey Jones could lead his own book. Looking at the reviews are pretty much 4 and 5-star reviews here. 4, 4.5 to 5. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything low here. So I'm going to read you a 5-star review. Far and away the best issue yet. That was a rollicking ride of good action. Yeah, I'm telling you, this Ludovic character is turned into this like tiger. I tell you, his characterization is good. I want to see more of this character as well as more of the Casey character. Another one, 5-star. Why does this have to be a mini? I would easily read another dozen issues of this. See, once again, good reviews. If you have not been reading this, it's only a 6-issue series, miniseries, and this is 5 issues in. I think you should check it out or wait till you see if there's going to be a trade. I don't think you'll be disappointed. Next, let's talk about JSA number 17 with 202 ratings. Yeah, 3.8, mostly positive score. And I follow the trend. 3.7 is what I gave it. And by the way, I don't look at those scores and things until after I do mine. So this is funny. Everyone today has been 1.1 to 0.2 points behind. The writer is Jeff Lemire. Artist is Gavin Goldry. And we have another major threat stares down Gotham City. The heroes have amassed, but can they work together long enough to face down this existential threat to the citizens of Gotham? Well, geez Louise, it's a regular crime-busting convention. That's one of the things that was said in this issue. We have Ultra Human Knight and his evil team plan to collapse the city. Yeah, our team unites together finally. But will it be too late for them to actually do anything about it? Well, we know not, because this is a past issue story leading up to the future. We also get good art in here, decent art anyway, fun issue. And we get a little bit about the current timeline of the team as well, about what they should do. And I got some good news. I'm going to give this little spoiler away. Stargirl, yeah, and Atom Smasher are coming back to the team. I'm a Stargirl fan. I love that. I like Atom Smasher too, so it's interesting to see them back. Now, looking at the other people's reviews, I am seeing a little bit of a spread, a lot of 4 stars, some 3s. I'm not seeing anything lower than, oh, I did find a 1.5. Let's check that 1.5 star review. So ready for Lemur to get replaced on the title. Well, we see they don't like that. I mean, the year 1 story is just boring and decompressed. It feels flat and lifeless. But the little prelude reminded me of how terrible the current JSA situation is. Rick and Jesse are at odds for no reason. Yes, they are. They're struggling in the relationship. There is talk again about what the JSA is and stands for. Yeah, and that's what it is. And this person thinks that's a bunch of nonsense. I don't agree. They just got through this. They got obliterated at first. They got decimated, but yet they came back, and they're saying, after this, they're assessing the situation. Another one here. Let's look at 4 stars. This issue was a lot more balanced between action, character development, and movement of the plot. Definitely the best chapter of this story arc. Not only that, but we get extra 4 pages of story with the beginning of a prelude to the next story arc. I was pleased with this one. Let's look at another one, 4 stars. This was honestly a fun issue. Good to finally see them together and the little dynamics forming. And the little bit at the end made me excited for the future of the series. Yeah, it's hard not to get excited about Stargirl, right? So overall, people are generally liking this issue. And you know what? If you're a fan of JSA, you might want to check it out too. Might be a good time to start since we're wrapping up that, or might be maybe after next issue, because you want to get in on the maybe next storyline if you're not wanting to start reading it all. Now let's talk about, I'm down to two more issues here. We're splitting hairs on which one is going to get the number 1 here. I mean, it is really close. All right. So the next one I want to talk about is Daredevil and Punisher, The Devil's Trigger, number 5. 268 ratings with a 3.8 score on League of Comics Geeks. And you ready? I gave it a higher score. I gave it a 4.2. Finally, right? A higher score by me. Writer's Jimmy Palamonti. Artist is Tommaso Biacchi and Mario Santoro. The opening cover, it's okay. Daredevil, I think, looks better than the Punisher on this cover. There's also another cover that's available that I didn't care for very much, but it is what it is. Anyway, the gang warfare has reached a fever pitch as Daredevil and Punisher fight to protect good old New York City. Well, I say good, it is what it is, from a mad land grab. Let's be honest, with the politics of New York, it's already been a grab, right? Anyway, but will their tentative alliance survive the ordeal? I think it's sort of obvious it has to. They're heroes, right? This is the last issue of this mini. Can they trust each other? Can they get the job done? I think it's good art, good action, and it has a satisfying ending. It's not a completion ending. It leaves some stuff open for another reuniting of these two to do it again, and I'd like to see that. It's a fun mini-series. I would recommend it if you could pick it up on trade or find it cheap. Looking at the scores, I see 3s, 4s. Oh, I had a 2. So this is a bit of a mixed bag. I'm going to look at this too. It does say there's some spoilers, so let's see what happens. The art's good. Okay, I agree with them there. But honestly, the series was a letdown. I know it's only a mini, but it's literally just Daredevil and the Punisher talking about their thoughts on killing for every issue, and they don't grow or change or even really learn anything besides from Frank leaving. Oh, can't say that last part there. Okay. I sort of agree there. It was expected, but it does have a nice little twist, though. Even that little twist, I think, was somewhat expected too. But with that said, this is Daredevil and Punisher. You sort of know what you're getting into here. And I didn't mind that. I don't see how that made this book deserve a 2. I can see how it kept it from getting a 5 for sure. Let's talk about a 3-star. An okay ending to an okay miniseries. For some reason, Matt and Frank just lack their usual chemistry. Matt hardly seems to care that Frank killed all those people. You must not have been reading the same book as I did, because if you look at the look on Daredevil's face when he goes into the building and sees all those people slaughtered, he cared. He just realized there isn't really much of anything he can do about it. It was too late. Let's look at another one, 4-star. This is exactly what I expected, which is not necessarily a bad thing. The narrative is solid and engaging, and the dynamic between Frank and Matt was excellent. Great artwork all around. And one more with a 4.5 star. We're going to end this one book on a good note. This was a satisfying end to the series. The action was great. I enjoyed the dialogue between Matt and Frank, and Ganucci turned out to be a solid villain. All I have to say is, bring this back. You know what? I agree. I want to see these heroes together again, and our story maybe mix it up a little bit more, but give us some surprises. All right, the book of the week. Are we ready? It is Batman number 7, 2,325 ratings with a 4.4 score on League of Comics Geeks, and once again, I gave it a higher score. No, actually, just a little lower, 4.3. Close enough, right? We were very similar in the overall scores this particular week here. The writer is Matt Fraction, artist is George Jimenez, and as Batman is beckoned to Arkham Towers by the mysterious man in the room 10. Nothing will prepare him for what he finds there. Okay. Well, what happens here in this issue is the Joker has found a way to reach out to Batman, to get in contact with him. You find out how. We get that. So the Joker's incarcerated, and he's connected to Dr. Zeller's device for containment and communication. So the Joker finds this way to get this communication to Batman, to get Batman to see him. And Batman's already on alert. Says if he could get somebody out to do that, you know that means he has a possibility to get out. He knows that how deadly the Joker is. But that's where it gets interesting. Now, this is not a fighting kind of issue. It's all talk. So if you want an action issue, this isn't for you. But we find out that Joker has two things he wants to share with Batman. For one, in this current situation, he thinks of Batman as lonely and needs a friend, right? Because he sees himself, I guess, as part that's integral to Batman, his existence. You know, the yin and yang, which they've built for years in this series. But the second is that somebody's coming to kill him. And okay, that seems fair enough. Batman's like, well, duh, everybody's out here always to kill me. I'm Batman. But that's where it gets interesting at the end. He tells him, oh, and I'm not going to tell you what the little spoiler is there, right? But he tells him something that shocks the Batman. This leads it to a great start from another storyline going here. If you're wanting to jump into Batman, I think now is a great time. You get Joker and Batman in a non-traditional way, and a story that's getting interesting. And how does the Joker know this? It's all interesting here. And looking at the reviews, I see it's mixed, which surprises me. So I'm going to talk about this 3.5 star. Guess my first ever review is going to be about, can't say that one. That's a spoiler off the bat. But they do say this run is very slow paced. Yet, it didn't help the issue, which I disagree. Okay. 2.5 star review says, stop trying to make the Joker happen. He's not going to happen. I truly wanted to enjoy this issue, and I thought I would because the gatefold looking into the Joker's mind sounded really cool. And in fact, it was. I even reread this issue twice more, hoping it'd grow on me. However, I found it lacked any true substance. And regarding writing, okay, I don't know how you got that. Now, I can get how you might have thought it was boring because it didn't have action. Okay. Well, let's look at a 5 star, though. I got to say, I really enjoyed the story and how it was told. By now, people likely know that Joker was the dad bod guy in the back tank at the end of issue 6. In this issue, Bats and the Joker meet. Yeah, and by the way, Joker gets a dad bod. That might be a good title. Joker gets a dad bod. I loved it. The Joker is as sinister as ever. He doesn't do or want anything without there being a motive. And this poised to be a great mystery. And I agree. I suggest checking out this Batman series, starting with issue number 7 if you haven't already. And that's why that is my comic book pick of the week. And I hope you all enjoyed this video. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, share your thoughts below in our virtual comic shop. Let's have some fun here. And until next time, keep it frugal.